Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, some more pound for pound number one news, which would be Terence Bud Crawford, right? Sometimes you hear some things about it. He's in negotiations of hopefully get the Manny Pacquiao fight. If he can't get that, maybe it's Sean Porter. We don't really know. But let's see what happens. But some people are speculating that if he does fight Pacquiao, what would happen? One of which is legendary trainer and commentator Teddy Atlas, who speaks his mind most of the damn time. I think we can all agree on that. Well, Teddy Atlas thinks basically that if Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao fight, Terence Crawford will retire Pacquiao. He will retire Pacquiao. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit and then we'll get into it, right? Teddy Atlas predicts that 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao will be sitting to retirement by Terence Crawford if the fight comes off, right? Atlas feels that the pound-for-pound star Crawford, 37-0 with 28 KOs, is too good for the former 8-division world champion right now, and it won't end well for Pacquiao. Teddy points out that Pacquiao will have been out of the ring for 2 years by the time he fights Crawford, and that's not an ideal situation. Not only will Pacquiao be much older than Crawford, but he'll be dealing with ring rust. The Pacquiao versus Crawford fight is expected to take place in June in the Middle East, according to Atlas. They both make a lot of money, but it'll end badly for Pacquiao. Now, of course, he says what most people do say. I'd rather see Crawford and Spence. I'd rather see a young guy with a young guy, said Atlas, on the fight with Teddy Atlas. And I think it's a bad fight for Pacquiao, and I think it's the last fight for Pacquiao. Right? We'll leave it there. It's more to the article. I might put that in the description box. But basically, he's thinking it's not going to go too well for Pacquiao. Now, before you move on, right? Even with the ring rust and even though Manny Pacquiao is 42 years old, let's go through some fighters and see would that be the same. Would they be talking the same thing, right? If Pacquiao takes the fight with Mikey Garcia, right, who's also young, would we be having this conversation? Would Teddy Atlas be fearing for him? Right, that Mikey Garcia is going to take. And Mike Garcia is a great fighter, 4-division champ, a hero. I've got a video talk, boy, I call him a hero because of the things that Mikey Garcia does, right? But will we have that conversation, right? When we even with Errol Spence, and Errol Spence is the most dangerous one. Errol Spence, Pacquiao just said the other day that he's just too slow, right? We'll be having that conversation with I'm talking about the most dangerous ones too. Even if he with Keith Thurman rematch. Will we be talking about Keith Thurman's going to end his career? I don't know. Now, Keith Thurman's bad, but we will be talking like that, and the other fighters. I don't know if we'll be talking that way. And for people who's thinking, well, he's older now, and, we're talking like that now, but we wouldn't have before, make sure this is clear. This is the same Terence Crawford that's been trying to fight him for 7 to 8 years. Terence Crawford, promoter, and Bob Arum said openly on many occasions, which I've documented here often, that he don't want him in the ring, Pacquiao in the ring with Terence Crawford. He don't want him to get hurt. It'll be too much damage, right? So he kept him away openly. That's just easy to find if you're looking for it. Easy to find. So that's his promoter who was saying that. And his own trainer, Freddie Roach, didn't want him years ago. This is not recently. Years ago to fight Terence Crawford. Now, we know they were under the same promotional banner, right? We know that. They were both under Bob Arum, and he couldn't make that fight. He couldn't. Pacquiao never wanted that. And I also just did a video the other day saying that if, most fighters, when they hear that their trainer says he's scared of somebody or he shouldn't fight him, and the promoter says he shouldn't fight him, the boxer going to get an attitude and say, well, hey, y'all better make that fight. That didn't happen either. We're talking at least anywhere from 6 to 10 years here, right? So all those fighters are younger than him too, so it's going to be that way. I just think Pacquiao, when it comes to Terence Crawford, then it's the one they don't want him to fight for a long time. This is another feather in his cap. This is, another one. We heard Stephen A. Smith last week or the week before saying, hey, he fears that Pacquiao going to get knocked out. They fear for Pacquiao's well-being only against Terence Crawford. This is another example of it. Hiding behind the fact that he's out with ring rust and all of that. But at the end of the day, that's not the case. Before the ring rust, when Pacquiao was doing his very best, the height of his career, whenever, it was still no Bud Crawford. And, so Bud Crawford should have the utmost respect from everybody, but, he doesn't. And, he doesn't have the respect he should have And it's kind of beautiful, especially among the black community, because a lot of times when it's talking about Bud and Spence, Spence is supposed to get this much money. Spence is going to get the third belt from Yordenis Ugas. Nobody asked Crawford to go get him, like to stay away from him, so we could say Spence got 3 belts. But it's cool, but Yordenis Ugas either. If Yordenis Ugas was about to fight Manny Pacquiao, would we be worried about Pacquiao's well-being? Now, would we? Right? So that he's going to get a belt from somebody that, nobody's worried about his well-being. It's cool, right? But when it comes to Bud Crawford, Pacquiao never. I've been pound for pound. I've been undisputed. You can't really deny, the fear and respect this guy has. But it just shows in the black community, it don't matter. It's what have you done for me lately? And you got to do something. Ain't like, hey, you was undisputed and you when I'm 1 pound for pound. No, this guy you supposed to get less and still fight him anyway. They like, hey, we love you no matter what happens. That ain't happening. He don't get no Canelo treatment or no Anthony Joshua treatment or some stuff like that. But he should. He has the same accolades. It ain't nobody in his division that Terence Crawford ever been scared of. Not now, not in the past, probably not until he gets at least about 37, 30 years old. That's what's happening. So this just, I thought was very interesting because it's just what everybody's been saying about Terence Crawford. That's why the fight, Manny Pacquiao don't want $40 million to fight nobody else, right? Except for Terence Crawford. He'd probably fight the other one for 10. It is what it is. I think it's interesting. What about you? Doma Sports Talk Worldwide, and I'm up out of here, y'all.